Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back here talking about Nobelia is a world where culture and community revolves around nobleness, being noble, actually being so, not hereditary. Where such nobility of being based on deeply solid character foundations built from living and applying way of impeccability and the Mornis Project tools for deliberate living. And you might say, what? What's Mornis? What? We're going to talk to Sil. Yeah. Sil's the man in charge today, and he's talking today about his project, his coaching, all that he does to help you. If you go to nobelia.org, you can find out more information. And again, we are with the founder and creative who really is changing people's lives. Sil Sebastian, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm most well. You know, it's not only for me about changing the lives of individuals, but changing the paradigm in which we are in, changing our culture, changing our personal culture, changing the culture in general. Now, you talked about people that I deal with and work with. Yes, I want to share something that came out of working with people. Right. So one of the programs that I run is called Capital H Hearing, and it's extremely powerful program for the individual, but also for anybody who wishes to help anybody else. And I put help in inverted commas because helping is very dicey. It's more we want to get to assisting rather than helping. Because when you're helping, you're doing something for somebody else. When you assist, you do it with them. And then they learn for themselves, which of course this is the best help, right? So help others to help themselves, sharing, in other words. And what happened when I was really hearing and applying this hearing to others, I heard how much they were deeply, deeply, deeply affected by their pasts. They were haunted by their past. Their pasts, even though they changed, they were different people. The pasts were still there, pressing on them. Now, you always today it's interesting. The first time you did not include poet in my introduction. Right? Only you say author, writer, poet. Yes,
Yes, there's a lot to you. Go ahead, tell
yes,
us.
I know. So I'm going to share a poem, and
Yes.
this poem is related to what I heard, and I had this intent. It was really deep in me. I felt it super strongly, and you'll hear it in the poem. This real deep, deep intent to address this issue that I saw was really, really affecting people deeply, right? And it's a huge poem, and many of the participants, it's made a massive difference. One participant wrote it out in nice, beautiful calligraphy and made a poster and put it up on a wall. So it's a big deal, right? A very big deal. All right, so I'm going to do screen share. And now it doesn't matter. I made a video out of the poem. I'm going to be reading the poem, but also goes with the video. And the video is just the bonus for those that are listening on the podcasts. Of course, it's the words that matter. But there's a funness to the video, and you asked about moreness. What is moreness? I'll explain afterwards about the moreness that the video illustrates. So it's a lot here, lots of stuff, lots of stuff. All right, so let me screen share, and then I'll play the poem.
Perfect.
Here we go.
Bring it on.
There we go.
Here we go. Part one.
Of Ben and Now by Sabastian. An aspirant said to Limo, I have been thinking. Limo waited. The aspirant looked away, away into the depths of self, the depths of the universe. I have been thinking about my past actions and behaviors, about those actions and behaviors which were best and desirable, about my actions which were simple, stupid, crazy. And I asked, who was it? Who did those things? Yes, who? Limo wanted to know. Earnestness poured from the aspirant. I cannot say, in all honesty, that it was I. The me I now know is not the me of then, is not the me who did those things. I am now different, a different person. I cannot relate to the person of them. And likewise, I can only look at those actions, those behaviors with a touch, and I realized they were lack of awareness, no more, no less. Could I do the same now? No, I cannot. I could not. It is incomprehensible now. For me, anything, even remotely similar, impossible. That was then a different me in different times, a different me in different circumstances, a different me with different awareness, a different me with different perspective. I am different now, a different me. I feel differently now, think differently, understand. My values are still the same. I was not a bad person then. I am not a bad person now. I did foolish things. I did stupid things. Even maybe hard things. How was this possible? Like the waves. Also, motivations. Also, immersion. Immersion into bubbles. I had motivations then. I had goals then. False goals. Goals and motivations based on, again, lack of awareness. Goals and motivations hooked to the prevailing conventionality. Goals and motivations not really mine. A dire reminder to myself. A reminder to be true. A reminder to be true. To be true to myself alone. I, back then, got caught in bubbles of awareness. I got caught in immersions. Immersed in the moment. That was powerful. And looking back, scary. Reason and logic and sensibility went away. They went away when I got too caught in the bubble. I saw only the logic of the near term. I saw only the immediate. I could only see the inside of the bubble. And when I disconnected from the whole, my decisions inevitably ridiculous and they seemed sensible to me in those moments. With the disconnected decisions, disconnected the decisions are doomed decisions. Powerful lesson for me. I must maintain perspective. Always, always I must. Always I must maintain my perspective. There is almost no connection between now and then, except a memory, a reminder. A reminder I can be foolish. A reminder to pay attention. A reminder to consider everything. A reminder to act in full awareness. A reminder to be appropriate. To be appropriate in all contexts. This is essential. The memories are there only for her. The memories are reminders. Reminders of the pitfalls of lack of awareness. They are tools to leverage myself. I cannot now connect to those emotions of my past actions. No, I am simply not that person any longer. And never will I be that person again. When you are always moving forward, the universe is saying, take notice. Take notice of how hard this moment is working, how hard it is working to prove to you that this moment is different. Look for what is different. The aspirant responded, yes, it says, pay attention to this now, the perfection of now. You, you are the now, not then. You of then died a long time ago. You of now is all that matters. You of now is all that can matter. As I reflect on the me of now, as I reflect on the me of then, I realize in no content. This is what I need. I need to update myself, update my perception of myself. I need to update. I need to update my perspective on myself. I need, I need a conception of me like that. I can no longer, I can no longer regard myself in the ways I have become habituated to. My self-image, my self-image is rooted in the past, connected to the past, and it is inaccurate, grossly inaccurate. It has little sense to the me of now. There is power in this, and I realize the me that did those things in the past is a ghost that has no power, no power to harm. Ghosts are insubstantial by definition. Their only power lies in ideas that are empty fears. And I refuse to do that with the past. The
Mm-hmm.
past is no longer relevant. With a me that does not exist. With any me that cannot ever exist again. Yes, yes, positive. It's like sadness escape. Dream becomes so bright. Begone, vehicles. Has no power over me. Begone, sacred ghosts of past. You have no. Begone, you ghosts of previous me. Have no power. You have no power. You have no power over me. Oh, no. Yeah.
Wow. When did you make this video?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think a year or two, a couple more, maybe years ago. I don't remember. The poem has been around for a while, but I made the video a while after that. Uh, it's just as well. I'm not reading it now that I'm
Yeah.
doing a replay. The poem makes me very emotional. Yeah. Sorry, let me get. There we go. There we go. Just getting an end the screen share. Yeah, the poem really affects me. It affects me very deeply. It's a very powerful poem, not only for me personally, but for those I deal with. I don't have as much of a. Yes, I did stupid things, maybe even horrid things, but I
Mm-hmm.
know people who definitely did horrid things. I said for myself personally, maybe even horrid, but they really did bad things. I mean, like really things that they are genuinely and legitimately, guilty of and feel ashamed about, deeply ashamed about. And this is so powerful. But those people aren't
Yeah.
the same. They've changed, especially in doing way of impeccability. And it's like they changed profoundly. They are
Yeah.
completely different people. And that line where the aspirant says, cannot, I cannot do those things any longer. We forget that. We forget that. We still cling to this idea of feeling guilty. You aren't that person. How can you be? So this is a deep, deep, deep poem. And the epistrophe, which is the deliberate use of repetition for dramatic, poetic effect, for emphasis, it came not because I didn't actually even know that it was called epistrophe at the time. I just discovered it by accident later. So the repetition was about me, my intent to kind of really, really communicate this idea. And it worked out so incredibly. Now, yeah, we talk about mourners, right? Now, would you say the dancer, her name is Sylvie Jalome. By the way, she's 49 years old doing this, right? Eh, You're muted, Jill? I think I'm not hearing you. Oh, I'm not hearing you. Okay. Still not hearing you. What happened? All right. Anyway,
Hello?
there we go. There I hear
There
you
you
now.
go.
There you
Sorry,
go. There
sorry,
you go.
sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So I was going to say the dancer, her name is Sylvie Jalome, and she's 49 years old doing that dance. Isn't that incredible?
Oh
Mourners.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And now, Sylvie, do you think she did a good job interpreting the poem with her dance?
Yeah. Well, how do you now? It's
Okay, I'm having fun here a little bit. Right,
It's okay.
right. I mean, I asked the question like that because it's so incredible how well her movements fit the music, fit the poem, right? And then the music also, it's to Bolero, which is an epistrophic piece of music. It's probably the most classic piece of music that has a repeating theme going on, right? So it's epistrophic music. Anyway, this is pure, utter 100% moreness. It's pure coincidence, right? Absolute pure coincidence. I wanted to add a video to the reading of the poem. I'd already read the poem, right? And I was finding a video to match it. So I looked up videos more or less the same time length as the poem, and I found this, and it matches so perfectly. It's unbelievable. And I when I was doing the poem, there's some lines which I like. Yeah, man, this is a lot of repetition in here. Do I really need this? And I stuck with it. I trusted my integrity. I trusted the rightness of it coming. If I had changed even one line in that poem, it would not match the way it does. Yeah. So it's just pure moreness. It's fantastic. By the way, just as a fun note, talking about moreness and layers, there are two versions of Bolero's Ravel playing in the sound, two different ones that I used, and they kind of overlap because they have different emphasis in them. And then also, in addition to Bolero's Ravel, the two versions, there is the Hymn of the Cherubim, and I think it's by Tchaikovsky, if I remember. Rachmaninoff, one of the two, I forget, because I used Rachmaninoff in another thing that I made. Anyway, so the Hymn of the Cherubim is also in there. There's some extra layeredness and moreness. And then that orchestra playing it, that was a real once in a sort of, I don't know, once in a forever type of a deal where they're all sitting on that long harbor on the pier like that, the whole orchestra playing. And this is everybody from all different orchestras compiled. It's really something unique and special. I thought, all right, this is quite brilliant, all adds together. But the timing of it, I could not believe how wonderfully it all fit together. Yeah, it's just too magical, too magical. So that's moreness, when things work out like that. But also there's an intent to it. I had a deep, deep intent to find an appropriate video to match that poem. That poem means a lot to me. It is a huge, big deal poem, right? And I,
Mm-hmm.
I feel it is in itself, the poem itself, I call it a real poem. I've written poems, yeah, they're okay. But a real poem, it takes you
Wow.
elsewhere. A real poem transports you. A real poem connects you to the ineffable. A real poem doesn't only have some meaning and value and content and moreness to it, but it shifts you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just about saying something valuable. It is taking you outside of the words into another place where there's moreness, and you connect to that moreness. You feel the moreness. You connect to the hugeness of the world, to the ineffable, that which is not easily expressed, right? So the poems that connect you to the ineffable, that's real poetry to me. By the way, and just in terms of moreness, this poem also connects to Nobelia because it's an aspirant. And on Nobelia, you've got the new nobility, and then you've got an aspirant, somebody who is looking to become a new noble. It's not an ambition, it's an aspiration. It's a very big difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ambition, aspiration, very big difference. Ambition is typically related to those outside you, to external things. The value of an ambition comes mainly from the opinions and ideas of others. And aspiration, internal, right? So this is very important. We get taught to be ambitious. Sadly, we never get taught to have aspirations.
Why is that? I think we should all aspire to have and to
E-
dream, but you're saying most of us aren't
Exactly.
taught that. Interesting. I'm
Exactly.
thinking back to my own
Exactly.
childhood, and you're right. I didn't, well, not everybody parents
Exactly.
have that.
Exactly. That's why I say it's not enough to change individuals. And I don't change them. I provide the tools with which they change themselves. That's already a change. Our usual, typical, traditional notion, idea, and belief of change is that we go to somebody and they change us, right? Guru, teacher, whatever. No, only you can do it. Only you can do it. You can't have somebody else do it for you. They can provide the tools, yes. But if they're going to tell you, I'm going to change you, find somebody else. right? It's just not there, right? You know, with your children, you try as hard as you can to try and make them change, but in the end, it's only them, it's only their choice. So all you can do is provide them the best tools, provide them with choices, show them what the different choices result in, and then have them choose. This is absolutely huge. But so this is why I'm saying it's not enough to just change the individual. We need to change the culture, not just our culture in general, but the culture of our own selves, right? We can have our own individual cultures and you can have groups in it. And that's to answer your question. Why don't we get taught this? Why aren't we even aware of it? We're aware of the word ambition, but it's not emphasized. Sorry, aspirations, not emphasized. When I grew up, that was the number one thing that my parents valued, ambition. Number one. Honesty, integrity, that didn't matter. Got to be ambitious, got to be ambitious.
And just
Now,
where did that come from in them? Was it instilled from their parents or because they didn't have that with their parents that they learned the importance of it to teach it on to their
just
children?
from the superiority paradigm culture, just being important, having status, it just kind of overwhelmed them, and they were the original yuppies, way back when. Yuppies, before the term yuppies
Yep,
became
I
yuppies.
remember yuppies. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They weren't always there. It's something that came out after the 60s, after the 70s. Yes, which the yuppies came as those who kind of were interested in the hippie movement, but well, it wasn't quite practical. Practicality started to bite them a little bit, and then, well, this isn't going to work. And so they shifted all that desire to be more that the hippie movement really had underneath it. It was very naive, the hippie movement. I mean, if you really go, people think, sex and drugs and rock and roll. No, that's a media perception. Underlying, those people were searching for more. They were looking for spirituality. They're looking
Yep.
for personal growth, but they didn't know how to do it. And
Wow.
they were so disgusted and disappointed at
Mm-hmm.
the system. They went from excess to excess. And I have an expression that says excess breeds excess. Very important to be aware of. So they went from one extreme to the other, in other words. But the underlying intent was a very pure and noble and worthy intent. They really were looking for moreness. They didn't have the word, they didn't have the concept, they didn't have the tools to understand. They didn't understand appropriateness. To say you don't have to go completely counterculture and live off the land and all of this stuff, right? That was the big dream. It's not practical. You can live in the world we are today and have integrity, have impeccability, have ethics, be honest, be real, be more, and shift outside of the paradigm. And you don't have to be a counterculture, counter revolutionary. No, you don't have to be any of that. You can accommodate and fit in with society and be profoundly different. Can do
Wow.
that, right? And simple. You can be ambitious if you really want to, but when you start really paying attention to your own personal aspirations, ambitions sort of take on a secondary effect. They're not
Yeah.
as important. They really don't. Now, when you say, wow, I really want to satisfy my aspirations, what do I aspire to? This is a big deal. To come back to why I'm talking about aspirations, because the main character who's sharing the poem is an aspirant, right? An aspirant said to Lemo. Lemo is an interesting character in the whole Biela series on Nobelia, because she's not actually on Nobelia. She's like a voice in Biela's ear that talks to her over they call it the com, the internet, they call it com, for grand communication, right? So it's in the future, so names change a little bit over time. But anyway, so this aspirant, though, is is sharing, and she's called an aspirant because that's what aspirants do: learn, grow. You're aspiring to be more, you're aspiring to be the most that you can be, the best, but not in a hierarchical way, simply because of the value of it, right? So you're not looking to be better than anyone. There
Yeah.
is no better, there is no worse, there is no comparison. You're just simply you're aspiring to get the value that moreness brings you. And this is her shift in this understanding of
Mm-hmm.
letting go of the past. And it's a very, very big shift. Now, in terms
Powerful.
of, yeah, I want to just add one more thing because we're going to run out of time here, real quick. That the aspirant is aspiring to be a new noble. You think, but isn't that ambitious? No.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's the new noble title and or status It is an official designation. You become part of the New Nobility Corporation, which is a benefit corporation. So it mainly does things for the good of everybody. Yes, it also makes money, but it's not only about money. It's a B corporation. And they exist today, by the way. And it's one of the things, there are a few of them around. It's one of the things that if all corporations, or if the public starts to say, well, I'm not going to support you unless you're a B Corp, change our world. Change our world. Because right now, legally, your officers of a corporation have it's called a fiduciary responsibility to make
Mm-hmm.
profit. Even if it's unethical, they are legally obliged to make profit. It doesn't matter whether it's ethical or unethical. Ethics is not legal. Ethics is optional. But a B Corp, they now have a different agenda, a different mandate. Whatever they stated to be, right, in some way, they're going to be doing good, furthering awareness, promoting this, giving to charity, whatever. Now, your responsibilities of your officers are completely different. It's not this obsession with having to make money at all costs, which is what corrupts everything, right? So that's a very simple thing. So the B corporation, that the new nobility, when you become a new noble, you become an official member of the corporation. You're also an employee. Now you don't work in a regular way, but you're also a shareholder, right? So there's a very real effect to this. Plus, you become a representative of the corporation. You're part of the branding. So there's a lot involved, but none of it's got anything to do with ambition. It's all about practicality. Internally, every single new noble thinks of themselves as a perpetual aspirant, because that's what they are. We are all perpetual aspirants. Yes?
I love it. Wow. Wow. All
Perpetual
right.
aspirants.
With our Mornis project here, and our, my goodness, amazing lector, poet, coach, you name it, he wears many titles.
Yeah.
Again, I can't even say them all. It would take up the whole show. Mr.
Yes.
Sebastian, how do we reach out to you?
Nobelia.org/connect. And if you do want to watch the poem, it's on my YouTube channel and it's set to public. So you can just search for the me of now and then, and you'll find it, right? Probably put it in quotation marks, I think, because otherwise you might get other stuff. But then you'll
Beautiful.
find it.
And I hope you guys are watching the Zoomcast because he looks so sharp today. First thing I
Thank
said when I
you.
saw
Thank
him
you.
matching your background, looking
Thank you.
good,
Thank you.
always inspiring. And
We
thank you for
try.
the
We try.
poetic.
We try.
Thank you. No, we appreciate it.
We try. I'll tell you, I'll talk about attire and appearance of the new nobility next week. Go ahead. Bye-bye.
Perfect.
That's it.
Thank you
That's
so much. Have a great day. Thank you.
it.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
darling. As always, a
Bye-bye.
pleasure.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.